we have to be leaders as well as good hairdressers. I was a great hairdresser that had a great connection with my clients, and I had a great following. So I thought I opened up, but then I had to manage people. And my philosophy is you lead people and you manage systems.
Okay.
And so, I'm not here to manage the people. I'm here to lead you, and I'm going to create systems for us to follow, to grow and prosper and follow through on.
I am so happy to welcome my friend Scott J to Brazen and Bold podcast. Scott and I met through an introduction with somebody in the hair industry. He is the current president of Intercoiffure Association. Welcome to Brazen and Bold, Scott.
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course.
Excited to be having our conversation.
Me too. This is what actually, well, besides a few requests, but what really got me to start having a podcast and hosting people was after starting Spark, I would have discovery calls with people, different people in the industry, businesses, coaches, presidents of certain hair associations and boards. And during these discovery calls, I would be enthralled. There were so many great takeaways. And afterward, I was like, everybody should have heard that phone call, or that person is genius. I love what they have to say, or I wish I'd been a fly on the wall in that conversation 5 years ago, right? So I started recording my Zooms just to harvest little interesting tidbits for myself. And I thought, why don't I share this? And Scott, when we first had our conversation and introduction a few months ago, I had the same takeaways after talking to you. And I'm just really grateful you've agreed to share some of your story with our listeners.
Great. I'm excited to be here and grateful that you asked me.
Yeah.
Sharing.
You built a career and a multi-location salon in a bustling city and a hard place to break into business. Tell me about what got you into hair in the first place all those years ago, and how in the world you've been able to sustain your passion and engagement in this field spanning over 40 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, I started when I was 19. We all have our stories. We all have our life happenings. And, my mom passed away when I was young. I was 15 and kind of got lost right after that and didn't quite know where I wanted to be. And I knew I didn't want to be living with my father for lots of different things, as some of us have. And I moved and went and lived with a neighbor of mine. And I was working in a nursing home as an orderly. And I realized when I got about 19, I was like, okay, I got to do something with my life besides be an orderly. And I loved taking care of people and I loved my job there. But I didn't like needles, so I knew nursing was not where I was going. So I saw an ad for Wilford Academy, and something inside, that little intuition, that little gut thing of yours that, you never know where those messages come from, came. And I thought, that could be fun. And so I went to Wilford Academy and I applied to beauty school. And when I was in there, I started to see that I really enjoyed it and I was good at it, and so that's how it started. I just, kind of fell into it. It wasn't that I played with Barbie dolls when I was younger or anything like that. Or I did iron my sister's hair with an ironing board, because, that's straight hair and false eyelashes.
For those of you who don't know, flat irons weren't always a thing. Yeah. And when you have coiled or curly hair and you wanted it to be straight, you had a brother or a friend that would iron your hair.
Yes, exactly.
And I did this with my neighbor's hair. That's why I know.
Oh, you did?
So you ironed your sister's hair. What a sweet brother.
So that was right. So that was my first introduction to hair. Actually, I haven't thought of that story in a long time. So yeah, I did that. I graduated. I realized that I needed some education. I needed to go to a graduate school because I really, getting out of beauty school, I needed more mentoring. And I got a job out in New Best & Company in Manhasset, which was with my first employer, Michael Mazzi, who taught me everything. And I worked there for a couple of years. I was his intern. I was his assistant. Then I worked there, and then I moved into Manhattan. And, I just slowly thought, okay, I should open my own. And I opened a 500 square foot salon on 72nd in Columbus.
Beautiful.
And when I was 30 years old.
Right by Columbus Circle?
Huh?
Not far from Columbus Circle?
Not far from Columbus Circle. And I have 3 of those 5 people are still working for me today, which is pretty amazing. They started with me. I moved from there in about a year. I had met Horst Reckelbacher, who was the owner of Aveda, and I met him in a trade show, and we connected, and I brought his brand in. So I was the first lifestyle salon in New York City. I did some trade shows with him and went around the country working for him as a platform artist. And, and things just started to roll out. And I currently have my what you would call the flagship location is on the south side of 72nd, but 2 stores down from where I started, but in a 2,800 square foot salon.
So we went from 500 square foot, which in New York City is huge, by the way. Even that, like a big undertaking. I got to go back to, you have 3 of your original 5 team members still with you. How many years are they celebrating?
Oh, it's about 35, maybe 34. Yeah.
That is significant and really something I want to dive into because, now how big is your flagship salon? You've expanded to...
It's 2,800 square feet. So we have 2 floors. It was a spa and salon. Now it's just a hair salon with 28 stations.
That's incredible. That really is so magnificent. And what a success story too. I think it's huge growth, and not just growth, but something that you were able to sustain, which I think would benefit a lot of people to hear about. What would you attribute your ability to keep the majority of your original team from 35 years ago still with you? What did that look like? Because certainly, I imagine, progressed and changed and adapted. So how did you keep that relationship going and adapt with them?
Well, it's a true partnership. And, I have a lot of people with me for 20 years, 25 years, even most of my team, all of my, when I was at my largest, when I had 5 locations in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and I had 240 employees total. I've now scaled back a little bit. But when I was at my height, it was all built on my own in-house education program, and people all came from within and grew within and knew the brand and knew Scott J, and I knew them. And we created a true partnership where they're building their brand within my brand, which is what I really believe in. It's not my brand, it's our brand.
Okay.
And you are a brand within the brand, and you are part of my brand. And that's always been my philosophy. And, I have a woman, Susan, who I just had some minor surgery, and we were interns together. So I've known her since I'm 19 years old, and she's raised her daughter and everything. And the gift of it all, and I get a little emotional, is the gift is really about giving people opportunity, giving women and men and just people in general an opportunity to grow and prosper and have a life through the channel of Scott J and beauty. And that's what kind of fills me up.
I would love it if people could embrace the emotional overwhelm that comes from something so beautiful without feeling need to apologize. Thank you for sharing that and for being okay with that, because that's such a beautiful impact in a world that is really driven by numbers and driven by profit. And you couldn't have provided this stable and safe place to work and these opportunities for people like this woman that you've known since you were 19, who raised her daughter very likely in a much better way than she could have if it weren't for your brand and your support. You can't do that without having success. You can't do that without having your numbers dialed in. But it sounds like you really have your heart and your focus on what you're giving and the care that you take for the people that you work with. And that has been, it sounds like, the foundation of everything you've done. And that speaks volumes to what it takes to be sustainable and to adapt.
Oh, absolutely. Now it's all about the people, and it has been always, but even more so. And, when I first started, I'm a high school dropout. When my mom died, I dropped out of high school in my junior year, which was crazy because then I had to go learn fractions again.
And a fugitive, you were a fugitive runaway truant child.
Right.
You fled your dad. It's an exciting story, from living behind a dumpster to owning the largest salon in Manhattan.
Yes. But, the numbers and the financial piece, that just came, and I happened to surround myself with smart people that taught me. My cousin was the first one. My family was from the meat business. And so my uncle knew some stuff. My cousins worked for them, and they started me and showed me how to read a spreadsheet, how to, understand what it was. And I've helped the Aveda Business College, come to life and learn the benchmark. So I've learned to embrace the financial piece of it, but it was absolutely not the thing that drove me. It's the thing that we all need in order to do this, to enlighten our passions. And now it's about serving both the guest and my team is really where it's at. And I have guests with me that are still with me since I cut their hair, so it's been coming to the business for 30 something years in the neighborhood.
That's really amazing. Tell me, for the person that's listening and the business owner that's wanting to balance people and profit, how do you suggest an owner navigates striking that balance? Or what did you find to work for you?
Well, I do a lot of reading, and I had to first really understand what's my strengths and what's my weaknesses. And I don't mean weaknesses, maybe things that I don't like to do even, and look for people to fill in the gaps so that we can create the team, because I can't do it yourself. You can't be everything to everybody. And the more I found people, like-minded in core beliefs and core values in that part, but had the skill sets to help me. And I could admit that wasn't my forte. Then I could, grow better, And so that's the first thing, is to really learn. I did a test a long time ago called format learning, which kind of teaches you how people like to learn. Mm-hmm. And how there's different people in different ways. And when I learned that from a leadership skill, and I honed my leadership skills, because we have to be leaders as well as good hairdressers. I was a great hairdresser that had a great connection with my clients, and I had a great following. So I thought I opened up, but then I had to manage people. And my philosophy is you lead people and you manage systems.
Okay.
And so, I'm not here to manage the people. I'm here to lead you, and I'm going to create systems for us to follow, to grow and prosper and follow through on. And then as you grow, you have to adjust your systems, as you get bigger. And you have to, for me, I also learned, think bigger than where you are today when you're creating a system, because sometimes we pigeonhole ourselves into doing something very small, and then we have to go back and try to regrow it. And so I always try to think bigger than what I like that.
Yeah. And something you talked about as well, not just finding people who fill the gaps from, I like how you said your weaknesses. It might be something that you could do well, but you don't love doing it. And so finding people who are smarter than you at the things that you're not as into is an overlooked and underrated skill that I happen to specialize in. It's funny you mentioned it. That's kind of like the only thing I'm good at, is knowing what I'm not good at, as a matter of fact. But what I think is cool is, in doing that, you weren't just looking for skill, you were looking for value alignment. And you can't find value alignment until you establish your values and you're so clear on them. So knowing where you're going, your direction and your ethics, that makes a space for you to then recruit people that line up with you, and they're going to be able to help push your vision forward. And that sounds like, as much as the care that you've taken over growing your team and nurturing the relationships of the people you serve in the community and in your team, sounds like knowing who you are and how to attract those people was probably the other piece that really made that congeal.
Absolutely. And, one of the early on lessons that took me a while and cost me some people was, as you transition, especially from a hairdresser behind the chair that's owning a business to working on your business, it was to find people that could talk like me behind closed doors without me. Mm-hmm. So when I was looking for a general manager, when I was looking for my vice president, and these are people that are going to coach people for me when I'm not able to be there, making sure that they have the same mindset, that they have the same care, that my thing is, let's go for the yes, no matter what. I want to create, I call it the triple win. The triple win is, if it's good for the guest, it's good for the team, and it's good for the company, then let's do it. If one of those is not good for, then we have to find another way to do the same thing. And that's kind of a method that I teach all my managers, because sometimes people have to make decisions for your company and you're not around and they don't know what to ask. So I say, ask yourself, can you create a triple win out of this? And if you can, go for it. And the only coaching I would give you is maybe tell you how I might have done it differently.
I like that. You gave your team some autonomy. It sounds like you invested in them and trusted in them. A lot of times as business owners, we are what gets in our own way. We are the bottleneck, because if you have all the answers and you have to be put in contact every time there is kind of a big decision to be made, it slows things down. Guest care is not as tightened up. And then, it can be a bit of a roadblock, especially as your team grows and expands. I don't imagine you would have been able to facilitate a team of over 200 people and multiple locations like you did for so many years if you weren't great at identifying who could carry on your values and think in the same vein as you. And especially, it's like the triple win. That's a great metric or a great standard to present, because if they know the team metrics, they know the business needs, and then they decide it's a good idea and it's a good fit. Well, you might have done it a little differently, but at least they're holding that same benchmark. And man, get out of your own way. It sounds like you got out of your way a lot quicker than a lot of people.
Well, it took me a while, but yes, it's like you have to entrust, and you also have to understand you can't control how you're going to do it. There has to be some space and leeway for you to do it the way you do it.
Yeah.
With the guardrails of, is it a triple win?
Yeah.
Is the guest winning? Okay. Is this team winning? Okay. But how you position it, as long as it's not offensive and it's not going against my core values of how I want to treat people, then, I'm all good with it, because that I find is a big roadblock for people, is they try to be too controlling. They want it to be done this way and they want to do it now. And you just can't grow if you're busy doing every little detail. And like you said earlier, I always ask myself, while important, is this the best use of my time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everything is important, including cleaning the bathroom.
But
is it the best use of my time, or is it better for me to find a system that will make it work without me doing it?
Systems. You are talking efficient to me. And I got to tell you, I can hardly tolerate it when people talk efficient with me. It's my favorite, because I do think so many of us, we get caught up, especially when we're starting with smaller businesses. You started with a 500 square foot space. You could have probably done your own janitor work, your own front desk, your own payroll, everything. And man, from the beginning, you found people smarter than you or better than you at certain things. Maybe you're very smart and they just happen to have a different skill set. So I love that. You learn how to care for people and really connect on the relationship integrity piece. You identified your values and created systems, and look at you now. Like, if you guys don't know, Scott's a big deal. And so I think this is so helpful, just from the back end piece of your history and foundation as a salon owner and a business owner, of what it takes. And that kind of formula that you've identified and then implemented over the last 40 years, some 40 plus years, sounds like a really, really winning formula. So I'm excited for that little intro to, let's talk about your big projects now. You are heavily involved and the president now of Intercoiffure. How did you first find out about Intercoiffure? Who was your first exposure to it, and what made you realize that was the association for you?
Intercoiffure America Canada, I was introduced when I started my job at New Best & Company, and the guy I trained under, Michael Mazzi, he was an artistic director for that associate for Intercoiffure. And so I used to hear him talk about it and go to photo shoots and do visuals for them. And I thought, one day I want to join that, and you had a
fancy.
Yes. And
there's going to be one of them.
I wanted to be one of them, and I wanted to come into this group. And so when I bought my salon in New York, I called him up and said, Michael, I'm ready. Can you sponsor me to become a member of? So I've been a member of Intercoiffure since 1995. And like anything, there's been ups and downs, and times I've been very engaged and times I've been disengaged. And over the last 10 or 15 years, I've been more engaged and, sat on the board, on and off the board in those times, and worked under different presidents, and then became Sheila Wilson, who's the previous president's first vice president. And, from there, we've done a lot of wonderful things for the association to move it forward, to grow it into a vision, and take it a little bit bigger. And I wanted to keep watering the seeds that Sheila and the board had done so well, putting new programs in place. And so that's why I accepted with, great honor and great humbleness, the presidency, and hope to, over the next terms, my term is 3 years. And, if I get reelected, it'll be 6 years, hope to really raise the roof of Intercoiffure and create a garage for a real safe space for all of the beauty industry in North America and Canada to come play, to commune, to collaborate, to learn, to cry, to laugh, because we all need that. We're all in our own circles of where we are and in our own circle of friends, and sometimes we can feel really alone.
Yeah.
And really, especially as a salon owner, you can feel sometimes all alone, like, am I doing it right? Is what's happening? And, you need to have people. You need to have a place to connect. You need to have a number on the other end of the phone. And that's what I want to create with ICA, is a community of people to help support each other and opportunities to learn together. From big shows that we have twice a year, one in the spring and one in the fall, to lots of little owners regionals and smaller events and webinars and things for people to connect and grow, because it takes a village, and it's really about the relationships, the conversations of the relationships, and my business and the acromens that have happened in my life happened because of the people around me and the relationships I've been in, and the amount of times I say yes, because I think sometimes people are scared to say yes, and yes is, yes really propels you forward.
Yeah.
Into new opportunities.
Yes is so powerful. And I think as we're talking about like the ideal member of ICA is not for everybody. And high achieving, high performing business owners and salon owners need other like-minded high achievers. And having that cross sampling from across the United States and Canada gives a huge group for accountability. And like you said, place to bounce ideas off and feedback of. I love hearing about these regional events as well, because big shows are fun. They're less intimate and there's like less of that connection point. They're more inspirational, but the regional events sound incredible. How often are these regional events held, and what size of group do you have, and what does that format kind of look like if someone's interested in finding a way to participate?
Yeah, well, those are really member benefits. So, go on our website and you can come in. But regional is member driven. So members host other members in their salon. And we basically share best practices and new techniques and things that they're doing. And it's just a way to collaborate. And we keep them very small and intimate, about 30 to 40 people, so that it's a 2-day event where you really get to intimately know and meet everybody and learn and share. You just walk away with new friends, new ideas, ideas that you had that you might have changed or been better because someone else came up with an idea and had something. And it's just a really great way to intimately get you connected. So when you do come to these bigger shows, you're now knowing, 30 or 40 more people. And we have 2 a year currently. I'm trying to look at the calendar and really do 2026 and 2027 and maybe build it to 3 a year. It's really hard to get all the calendars with all the other show activity going on.
Right.
So you can get the participation, but I'm hoping to get 3 in 2026. We have one coming up in June in Atlanta. It's not confirmed yet, but it will be really great. So stay tuned for that. And then we have team regions. So I'm just trying to create little touch points for members and people in the industry and grow it and get the schools there and get the beacons there and get the students there. And, so students come so that we become a place of a community for the beauty industry to come together and learn. Because we can all learn from each other no matter what area we are.
Hey, I think that's so cool. And tell me, for someone listening and doesn't know what Intercoiffure is, who is your ideal member of Intercoiffure? What kind of requirements or standards do they need to meet in order to be considered to be a part of this group?
Well, I think, one of the things, and it comes to monetary a little bit, is that, it's like in order to be a member and get something out of it, you have to be able to afford to travel and spend between the membership and going to the community events, $6,000 a year on your P&L has to be able to a fit that you can spend, coming to the events. Otherwise, you're not going to get any value out of it.
Okay.
So it's really about someone that, wants to grow and wants to, create a bigger business and create and expand their network because, there's a lot of opportunity. We're also international. So we have an international side. So you can go to Europe. We have an office in Paris. And you can go there. We have events there. So you meet European friends from all over. We have 42 countries that we're partners with. So, the expansion is big, but you have to play. And, I always relate it to a golf club,
Okay.
and when you want to join a club to play golf, it costs you X amount as your entrance fee to join the club. And then you have to eat dinner there. You have to play on the golf course. You have to, in order to get the value of the golf course and the members and all the things, you have to do other things. So I always say it costs probably about $5,000 to $6,000 a year total to really be an active member that's going to get collaboration and connection out of Intercoiffure.
So tell me, who are the ideal members of ICA? I know that it's a very elite and prestigious group. So for someone listening who says, "Hey, this sounds like an amazing group to be a part of," what is the expectation, or who would be a good fit to join ICA?
Yes, I think that is always a question I get asked, and I think it's about the fit is a salon owner who wants to grow, wants to learn, wants to share, because it's about what can you give, not just what you can get from ICA.
Okay.
So you have to be willing to share and have stuff to share. I like to kind of say that it costs money to be part of this community. And
you're not going to pay me to show up?
Excuse me?
You're not going to pay me to show up?
No. We might, we pay you to participate with us. We'll take, we share each other's ideas. And so I always say it costs about $5,000 or $6,000 to be a member. I like to, because in order to come to 2 shows, one in New York, one that travels, we have our spring one is going to be in Montreal this year. So to come to a 2 to 3 day show twice a year, to be involved in going to a regional and flying somewhere else to, it costs money plus the membership fee, it costs money. So that's why I like to tell people, like, if you can't fit that in your P&L right now, we might not be right for you.
Yeah.
But, you can strive to get that fit into your P&L. And, I'm trying to open it up a little bit and, invite everyone on listening to this podcast to go on intercoiffure.com and sign up for the newsletter so you can stay abreast of what we're doing.
Right.
And, it's really about sharing and learning. So I hate the criteria question of who do you have to be, but you do have to, a startup business, it's not for. It's for a business that's ready to go to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's helpful though, because it wouldn't be a good fit for someone just starting out. It wouldn't necessarily be. There might be great ideas and information, but in order to take it to the next level, you have to be to an extent at the next level. And I don't think a barrier to entry is bad. It's just nice to bear in mind. And for people listening to know, like, this would be the ideal person for it, or this is where I should be in order to be ready to take that step. And getting to a show in New York is so much fun, but you've got to have money for it. And that is not a bad thing to aspirational goal, right? To aim for with these regional events or with some of what you're looking for. There's an initiative that you're working on to help bring aboard maybe smaller salons, people who are younger in the industry or newer in the field. Tell me about that program, what that's called, and what your kind of aim is in this.
Well, I'm really trying to, raise the umbrella of all the people that sit under ICA, Intercoiffure America, Canada. And, I want to be the Switzerland of the beauty industry. So I'm trying to bring, one of the things that Sheila started was honor the teacher. And we realized in beauty schools, a lot of times the teachers don't know what employee-based. We are the voice of the employee-based salon owner, which is a very important thing I should have said early on. And so we are the only community or association or organization that is solely for employee-based or salary-based salon businesses. And so we realize that a lot of times students are not staying in the industry. 3 to 5 years, they leave. The retention rate is not great. And so Sheila had a brainstorm of, well, the teachers need to be exposed to what an ICA salon, what's an employee-based salon all about? What is the industry about? They don't really come to industry events and things. So we do this honor the teacher, and we get students to write in, and we're just finalizing the winners for this year. And we had over 300 applicants of students writing in about their teachers and how special they are. And we have a committee that rounds them down, and we fly 5 of them into the New York show, and we honor them and thank them. And so it's a beautiful thing. And the teachers, I think teaching is an underserved, high valued, position. So when I was thinking about it, I thought, okay, well, let's get the school owners to be a part of ICA, so the school owners can bring their teachers there, and I can give them a track where they can send their teachers out to learn next to all the other beauty school teachers, so they feel a part of the industry. I was the chairman of the Professional Beauty Association, and I was on that board for many years prior. And so I know they have a program called the Beacon Program, which is for young beauty school students, where they bring them once a year together and they write essays, and they get to come and have a 2-day education class. And I thought, well, let's get together with these Beacon students and get ICA, our members, exposure to them so that they can get witness who employee-based salons are. Yeah. And so now I'm trying to create the lineage from the student to the association, to the school, and then to my members as salon owners. So we're trying to create this whole big program where they stay and they realize that there's a lot of places to go. If you decide you don't want to be a hairdresser, there's other places in the beauty industry that you can play.
Yes.
If hairdressing you decide is not for you after 3 years, but just don't leave the industry and go to nursing.
Cool. And obviously, if that's what really winds up being best for somebody, go for it. But I think one of the barriers is a lot of people don't realize how many different opportunities and options there are, because there isn't such an exposure to well-run, team-based, employee-based salons. And there's a lot of leadership positions available. There's a lot of different things when it comes to manufacturing and big picture within the industry. At the PBA event, they do have, oh my goodness, I forgot what it's called, but it's in November and it's here in Scottsdale, but they have the big,
their big event, yes.
I don't even remember what it's called. I'm drawing a blank.
Me too.
It's in my calendar. I should look. But essentially, it's not even maybe as directed and geared toward salon owners as much as suppliers to the industry and bigger picture things in that. So there's so many different opportunities and options. And starting with the up and coming crowd and exposing the schools, the students, the teachers, and those team-based, high-performing salons to each other, I think is a really great fit. I like that vision, and then also kind of inciting fresh ideas and interest, and making what you offer accessible and understandable to more in the industry, while still maintaining exclusivity, and the target of who you serve is amazing. I want to talk a little bit about dream builder. That is a phrase that resonates with you deeply, a concept or a passion of yours. What does it mean to you to be a dream builder? How has it shaped your life and how you lead others? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, when I came up with that title for under my card, because I hated president or CEO or things like that, it just felt strange to me. And I thought, what is it that I really do? What is it? What is my job? I was a hairdresser first, but it's evolved into so many things. And I thought, you know what? I help people live their dreams. I help people build their dreams. I really love seeing people grow and create the life that they want. And when I think about, I had my first Christmas party in that 450 square foot, 500 square foot salon of, I think it was 20 of us or 12 of us at the beginning, 12 in the beginning. And I remember standing up at that Christmas party, and I had it in my apartment, and I had lobster and toasting everybody. And then I remembered like a few years later, there was like 60 people, and I was in a restaurant, and, and I thought, wow, these people all rely on my business decisions to have vacations, to grow their family, to buy homes, to move on. I thought, that's a lot of responsibility. And so I thought, I like to create people's dreams. I like to help people. So it's like, I want to help you create your dreams. So that's why I chose Dream Builder as a subtext under my name on business cards or things, and on my handle, because when I build your dreams, it fulfills me, because my dream is to help others. My dream is to be of service. Yeah. And I really have always served people. I've served my guests when I first started. I'm serving the members of Intercoiffure. I'm serving business partners that join Intercoiffure. I'm here to serve around. And when I serve, I get back tenfold. So that's why I do that.
That's really beautiful. Being a dream builder is a lot less stuffy than president, founder, or owner. And it is a really significant title. So I think that the energy that you bring to not only the people you serve, but also our entire industry and community is really inspiring. And I'm so grateful that you've taken a little bit of time out of your day today, your busy day with all that you're involved in, to share with the listeners of Brazen and Bold about your path in the industry, the things that have sustained your journey, and also the care and heart you put into it. It's so easy to feel. It's so sincere. And it's actually very, very moving. So thank you so much for your time today and for all you've shared with our listeners, Scott.
No, thank you for having me. Hope to see you soon. Bye.
Absolutely.